welcome to the Junior Game Zone. And today I'm gonna be explaining and reading the chapter Golu Grows a Nose from the NCERT book for grade 7. This is chapter number 5 on page number, I forgot the page number, but you can check yourself. It's the fifth. And if you want to know about NCERT books, you want the free online PDF, you can go to ncert.nic.in. I'll share the link in the description after the video. Okay, so chapter name is Golu Grows a Nose. So I'll start from here. There was a time when the elephant had no trunk. Golu, a baby elephant with a bulgy nose, is full of questions. He goes to the Limpopo River to find out more about the crocodile's eating habits. Long ago, long ago, the elephant had no trunk. He only he had only a bulgy nose, as big as a boot. He could wiggle it from side to side, but couldn't pick up things with it. There was a baby elephant called Golu. He too had no trunk, but only a bulgy nose, as small as a small boot. Golu was full of questions. He asked his tall aunt, the ostrich, "Why don't you ever fly like the why don't you ever fly like the other birds?" So from what the beginning part means is that there was once an elephant who had a bulgy nose. If you see in this picture right here, oops, sorry. If you see in the picture right here, yeah, the elephant had a bulgy nose. So there was another elephant who had a nose and it was as big as a boat. So he could wiggle it from side to side, and he could wiggle it from side to side, but they couldn't pick up things in it. And there was a baby elephant whose name was Golu, who had the same bulgy nose, but without a trunk, which was as small as a small boot. So he always asked questions. He asked the ostrich, who was his tall aunt. He asked her, "Why don't you ever fly like the other birds?" Why isn't this changing? Uh, okay, I got it working now. So then he asked his tall uncle, the giraffe, "What makes your skin so spotty?" He asked his huge uncle, the hippopotamus, "Why are your eyes always red?" He asked his hairy uncle, the baboon, "Why do melons taste like melons?" The ostrich, the giraffe, the hippopotamus, and the baboon had no answers to Golu's questions. Golu is a naughty boy, they said. He asked such difficult questions. One day, Golu met the Maina bird sitting in the middle of a bush and he asked her, what does the crocodile have for dinner?" The miner said, "Go to the banks of the great grassy Limpopo River." I think it's pronounced Limpopo. I don't know. And find out. Golu went home. He took 100 sugar canes, 50 dozen bananas, and 25 melons. Wow, that's a lot of food. I'm so shocked. Then he said to his family, "Goodbye, I'm going to the great grassy Limpopo River. I'll find out what the crocodile has for dinner." He had never seen a crocodile and didn't know what one looked like. He met a python and asked him, "Have you ever seen a crocodile? What does he look like? What does he have for dinner?" So, what all this means from the beginning. First of all, after asking the ostrich why his aunt why he couldn't fly like the other birds, he next asked his tall uncle, who was the giraffe, why was his skin so spotty, and then he asked his other uncle, who was really huge, the hippopotamus. Then he asked the hippopotamus, why were their eyes always red? And then he asked his hairy uncle, the baboon, why did the melons taste like melons? So all his aunt and his uncles, who were the ostrich, the giraffe, the hippopotamus, and the baboon, had no answers to Golu's questions. They said that Golu is a naughty baby and he asks difficult questions. So one day he saw a minor bird and asked the minor bird, "What does a crocodile have for dinner?" Then the miner said, go to the banks of the great grassy Limpopo River and find out." Then after that, he went home and took 100 sugar canes, 50 dozen bananas, and 25 melons. I think he was preparing to go on a journey to the Limpopo River, and all of this, I think he grabbed a lot. I think because he was having this was his food. Then he said to his family goodbye. So he had said his family goodbye, and then he told them that he's going to the great grassy Limpopo River and he will find out what the crocodile has for dinner. He had never seen a crocodile, and he also didn't know what one looked like. So then he met a python and asked him. On the journey, he had met a python and asked him what has the python seen a crocodile? What does it look like, and what does it have for dinner? The python had uncoiled himself from the branch of the tree, but had said nothing. Golu politely helped him to coil around the branch again and said goodbye to him. So now next part. Golu meets the crocodile face to face. He gets a python's help when needs it most. Golu grows a long and useful nose. Golu moved on, eating sugar canes, bananas, and melons. After a few days, he reached the very edge of the great grassy Limpopo River. On the bank of the river, he saw a log of wood. It was really the crocodile who winked at him. "Excuse me," said Golu. "Have you ever seen a crocodile?" The crocodile winked again and lifted half of its tail out of the mud. "Come here, little one," said the crocodile. "Why do you ask such questions? I want to know. Come closer, little one, for I am the crocodile." And he shed his crocodile tears to show it was quite true. Golu was afraid. But he sat down on the bank and said, "You are the very person I was looking for. Please tell me, what do you have for dinner?" "Come here, little one, and I'll whisper the answer to you." Golu put his head down to the crocodile's snot, close to the crocodile's snot, and the crocodile had caught him by the nose. "I think," said the crocodile, "today a baby elephant will be my dinner." "Let me go! You're hurting me, Mr. Crocodile!" screamed Golu. The python, who had quietly been following Golu, came to the bank and said, "If you do not pull as hard as you can, the crocodile will drag you into the sea." So this was after he was, uh, after meeting the python, then he came to the edge of the great grassy Limpopo River. He was also eating sugar canes, bananas, and melons on the way. Then over here, they had a conversation. So then he saw a log of wood on the bank of the river, but it was the crocodile who winked at him, and Golu asked, "Excuse me, have you ever seen a crocodile?" Then the crocodile had winked again and lifted half of his tail out of the mud. Then the crocodile said, "Come here, little one, why do you ask me the questions?" Golu said, "I want to know." But the crocodile interrupted him and said, "Come close, little one, for I am the crocodile." And he shed crocodile tears to show it was quite true. "You are the very person I was looking for," Golu had said, "and please tell me what you have for dinner." Then the crocodile had again told, "Come here, little one, and I'll whisper the answer to you." What the crocodile wanted to do was eat Golu. That's why he was telling him to come closer. Then Golu put down his head near the crocodile's snot, and the crocodile caught him by the nose. And then the crocodile said, "I think today a baby elephant will be my dinner." So then Golu screamed out that, "Let me go, you are hurting me, Mr. Crocodile." The python, who was following Golu quietly, came to the bank and said, "If you do not pull as hard as you can, the crocodile will drag you into the stream." Then the last page, second last. Then Golu sat down on his little haunches and pulled and pulled. The crocodile slipped into water, making it all creamy with great sweeps of his tail. He also pulled and pulled. The python called him round Golu's stomach and said, "Pull harder! Let's pull harder." Golu dug in all his four legs into the mud and pulled. The nose kept on stretching. At last, even pull, no, at each pull, the nose grew larger and, longer and longer. And it hurt Golu. The nose was now 5 feet long. It was free at last. What this part means is that Golu sat on his little haunches and pulled because the crocodile was pulling him. Then the crocodile slipped into water, which made it all creamy with the great sweeps of his tail. Then he also pulled and pulled. The python had called around Golu's stomach and told him, "Let's pull harder." And then Golu dug all of his four legs into the mud, and then the nose kept on stretching because both of the crocodile and Golu the python were pulling it. So with every pull, the nose grew longer and longer, and the nose was 5 feet, but it was free at last. Then Golu sat down with his nose wrapped up in a big banana leaf and hung it in the great grassy Limpopo river to cool. Golu sat there for 2 days waiting for his nose to cool and to shrink. It grew cool, but it didn't shrink. At the end of the second day, a fly came in and stung Golu on his shoulder. Golu lifted his big nose and with it hit the flathead. So what this means is that after his trunk was finally free. So then he covered it with a banana leaf and kept it in the Limpopo River because he to cool it. But then he was waiting for 2 days to cool it and for it to shrink, but it didn't shrink. But it did cool. On the second day, a fly had come and stung Golu on the shoulder, and Golu had lifted his trunk and hit the fly dead. Advantage number one: hissed the python. "You couldn't have done with a small nose. Try to eat a little now." Golu put out his trunk and plucked large bundle of grass. He dusted it against his forelegs and shoved it into his mouth. Advantage number two: hissed the python. "You could have done it with a small nose. Do you think the sun is too hot now?" Golu scooped up some of mud from the bank and slapped it on his head. Advantage number three: hissed the python. "You couldn't have done it with a small nose." "Thank you, Mr. Python," said Golu gratefully. "I'll remember all this, and I'll go back to my family." So the python said he had three advantages. The first one was Golu couldn't eat that easily with a small nose. So then Golu put out his trunk and plucked out grass and put it in between his forelegs and stuffed it into his mouth. Then the second part is um, second advantage is the python his guy he couldn't have done it with a small nose. The sun is too hot. Then Golu scooped up some mud from the bank and slapped it on his head. Then the third advantage is you couldn't have done it with a small nose. Thank you, Mr. Python. Golu had said gratefully. Then he said he would remember this and then go back to my family. So thank you all for this for watching my video. If you like it, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.